Thank you for joining us today on Salon Sleuths. My name is Leslie and my co-host is Melissa. I want to remind all of you who listen to us on a regular basis, or maybe this is your first time, to please follow, subscribe, like, share, whatever the case may be for the platform you are on. Now, we do post these episodes on YouTube with video for those of you who'd rather watch. We enjoy making these shows, but unless you interact with us, we're not sure if you do. So please jump on your social media and let us know. You can find us under Salon Sleuths on almost any platform. Now, we hope you enjoy today's show. Thank you.
So, Leslie, how are you? How was Thanksgiving?
It's okay.
Oh,
Life is just kind of a little boring, a little. Like there's nothing to
Yeah.
do other than like go for another walk or
okay. What are you doing with your papers again?
sorry, I'm putting it down. I fumble. I have like this, I have to be
For all of you listeners, every time you hear that, although last recording, that was my paper flipping because I did not have my microphone on, but usually it's Leslie like fiddling. So you've been kind of
I need to get a fidget spinner or something
Yeah.
that the kids have because
You're a fidgeter.
I am
Yeah,
I
I'm
just like
sorry.
I'm busy.
Well, so you were talking about Thanksgiving. It was kind of weird. Wasn't the normal.
It was fine. I wasn't even going to cook, and then there was a a local restaurant was cooking, so we're like, oh, we'll just order from them, and it was fine.
Who'd you order from?
Oswego Grill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it's just different when you can't have family over, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. So we actually went to Bend. And so my son, who was in North Portland, and my daughter, who was in Eugene, we all tested, Corona tested, and then quarantined until we got our results, and everybody was negative. So we did come together and go to Bend and rented a house. Um, and it was nice. We all decided that we don't like Thanksgiving food. So we're like, what are we going to cook? You know, what do we want? And so we chose a little bit, like we did make pumpkin chiffon pie because everybody likes that. We did have a berry pie, but then that was kind of where it stopped. Like, oh, we had mashed potatoes. That was the other sort of traditional thing because my
that's the
daughter.
thing. Like Ella's like, well, we have to have it because it's Thanksgiving, but then I'm like, but none of us really eat it. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's
whatever.
a lot of work if you don't love the food. Like, I understand if it's like, oh my gosh, this is like the one time a year that I make this and I love it. And it's just not that for me and my family. So it was kind of nice to
So then,
just.
what was your main meal then?
So we had roast, and I should say that two of them, my daughter and my husband, are like vegan, vegetarian leaning. So they had no desire for that. They just wanted vegetables and potatoes and that kind of stuff. And so my son and I both still eat meat. And so we made a roast, but then I put vegetables and stuff in it. So it was roasted vegetables. Then we also had separately roasted vegetables, but the family will still eat the roasted vegetables that is cooked in meat. They just don't want the meat. Like that's just
Right.
not their jam. So it was really good. It was nice. And then we had chili the next day because we all really like chili. So
Well, we know you like your bean soup, so
oh yeah. Woo, do not have two bean soups. Woo. Girls got to be careful. Okay, so I have a question for you.
yeah.
Do you ever have something happen and you're like, oh my gosh, was that like divine intervention? Was that God? Was that my spirit guide, coming in and making something change for me? Have you ever had those moments where you're like, that was eerie and a little too close for comfort?
Yes. Okay, so there is this like, when you're watching a movie and then like the camera will like hesitate on something and
Yes.
it seems insignificant, but I pay attention to those things because like that fire
Foreshadowing.
that thing's going to make a big deal later in the movie.
Yeah.
It almost feels like my life kind of does that sometimes. It will like pause for like this split second and then
Yes.
you're like, okay, that's going to be significant later. I feel like I know those moments.
Oh,
And
do.
I've had a
Okay.
few that I was like, okay, that was definitely something. But tell me what you experienced.
So we were going over to Bend, and Highway 22 that you take from Salem to Bend for everybody who's kind of from the area. You have to go over the pass. And firstly, let's just say we were ravaged by wildfires. So we actually went through the area that was burned, probably the towns that were burned most significantly. I mean, certainly off the road maybe was worse. A lot of wildfire, national forest. I don't know if it was all national forest, but, just a ton of forest was burned. And a lot of these little towns that live along this highway were burned to the ground. Like, and it was weird because you'd have like 3 houses gone and then 1 house standing, and then everything's gone for a half a mile and then one thing standing. And so, we start off our drive just going, oh my God, this looks totally different. I mean, if you would have plopped me down on that highway 6 months ago, I'd know exactly where I was. If you just plop me down on that highway now, I go, I don't know where I'm at. Like, none of this looks familiar. All the trees that are on the sides are gone.
Yeah.
And it was so weird. So we started the drive, after Salem, kind of having that aha moment, like, oh my gosh, these poor people, it's just devastating, right? And then you kind of climb the summit. And the summit is right after Detroit Lake, which has again been just flattened and destroyed. There's a market that's left. I don't know why that market is left, but everything else is destroyed, right? And a few houses. So then we go up to the summit. Well, my husband needed to get a selfie for work, like a Christmas selfie. And he's like, oh, let's pull over and I'll take a selfie kind of with the snow in the background. So we decided to do that. We pull over at Hoodoo, which is right at the summit. And we take this cute picture. Great, whatever. It's beautiful, just snow. There's some snow on the ground and everything, but it's not really snowy on the highway. But off the highway, it's just white and just covered. So we take this picture, we get back onto the highway, and we are continuing our way to Bend, and we don't get but more than a half mile from where we pulled over. And we come around this corner, and there is a huge accident. There's a 3-car. All 3 cars were totaled. The one, and we realize as we pass it, we slow down to pass it, and we're like, oh my God, this just happened. Like, I see the driver of what I now know was the car that went out of control, and he looks stunned. He is awake, his eyes are open, but the car is completely smashed in. I don't think he can get out. I don't think they can get him out. He looks completely like in shock or stunned or whatever. So of course we pull over. Mind you, it's about 5 o'clock now. So the sun's going down. It's starting to get dark. It's not quite dark outside, but it's getting cold. And so it was getting icy. So they had spun out on ice. We pull over. We probably half hour getting flares, getting everything out there, realizing that the driver, he was in shock. He did pass out or was unconscious for a little bit. Everyone else is able to walk and get out. He did not speak the whole time we were there, which was probably 20 or 30 minutes. And so we call 911. They come out. Well, it turns out that first of all, we missed this by minutes. I mean, had we not pulled over, I think, oh my God, would we have been in that? Like, we didn't take very long to pull over, but would we have been in front of it? Would we have been in it? Like, I have no clue. So we're of course shooken. We're thankful that we weren't in it. We're like, oh my God, would we have been in it if we hadn't gone? And then we're like, okay, why aren't there trucks out here sanding? Why aren't they plowing these roads? And then I talked to my girlfriend, and she's like, oh my gosh, I went over there came back on Tuesday, and it was the same thing. No sanding trucks. It was icy. It was scary. She had to actually pull over at one point. It was like blizzard whiteout. She was like, I was so stressed out. I had to pull over, get my bearings, and then get back on the road. But I just can't help but think, and I didn't have your feeling. I didn't have a feeling like, oh, this is the foreshadowing.
Yeah.
I just can't help but think we missed something. Like pulling over.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was, whether you want to call it.
I'm not super surprised because Eric's kind of like that. Like, and it could have just been like, hey, I just want to get a selfie. This is a perfect timing. But then I just think that Eric's in tune to certain things, or maybe he just knew that he had to take a picture, and it could have just been coincidence. I don't know if you believe in coincidences.
Well, and the fact that he kept
Definitely
remembering,
something. Yeah.
because he is the kind of person that would remember or say something and then would forget.
Yeah.
So maybe the fact that he kept remembering
Yeah.
was something that, like, okay, you got to remember this. You got to remember this. I'll ask him if he had any feeling about that.
And
But of
maybe it was
course,
so like not, he wasn't even aware of it, but he just felt like, oh, because like, I mean, Eric is totally different than Michael, but Michael
yeah.
wouldn't be like, oh, I need to pull over on this beautiful pavement to take a selfie in the snow. He just would never do that. He would never think of that. But I'm like, Ben Eric's a little different. He's a a husband of a designer. And
Yeah.
so maybe you guys are a little bit more involved in that kind of world, but something definitely helped. I for sure. Like, I
Oh
mean, I
my
always try to
gosh.
think like, was I behind one of those cars? Does it look familiar? Do the taillights, or like,
Yeah.
where were you in that mix before you pulled over?
Yeah. I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
So are you hearing me? I'm getting feedback all of a sudden
Oh no, I can hear you
from
fine.
myself.
Uh-uh.
Oh, it stopped. Okay, good. Good, good,
I
good, good.
don't know.
Yeah, it was weird and we were all shooken up. Honestly, I had a stomach, those adrenaline stomach aches that you get after something like that. I had a stomach ache all the way until we got to Bend.
Yeah.
And we stopped at Target to get some last minute grocery stuff for dinner. And the stomach ache went away when I got out of the car and I walked a little bit and had something else to think about, but just shook me to my core.
You had to get
Like,
grounded.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. And so thankful to have my family. We were all together and my son was just a little rock star. He just got out and helped and was super helpful and wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Those are crazy moments. Like I've had moments where I felt uneasy like you, like when Michael would go on his motorcycles and like be out of range where I wouldn't be able to like, I would always say you have to call me by 4 o'clock or I'll give you 1 hour and then I'm calling a ranger
yeah.
or somebody. And I did that once when he ran around Mount St. Helens. But even then the ranger's like, well, his car's still in the driveway or in the parking lot. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't help me, but
Yeah. I don't care.
yeah,
I'm freaking out.
he's out there somewhere. Like, I don't know, but everything turned out, but I would get like a little sometimes because I'm at home with 4 kids
Yes.
and I don't know where he's at. And
Yeah.
I was just worried about more his safety, him falling.
Yes.
And then like, even his friends, he's such a tall, big guy that no one's going to be able to carry him out.
No. So now I saw on social media, is he gone with the boys
Yeah,
snowmobiling?
now, and there was an accident on 26, so they're bumper to bumper as of 2:30. It's only 3:30 now, so they may just now be starting, but I think it's we just bought them.
Okay.
Deals on Friday, and so because we have a summer sport now, we need a winter sport, right?
Yes.
So Michael and Tristan went yesterday, and then he's taking the boys today to go up there, but they're only going to get like an hour because it's going to get dark.
Yeah. Oh.
That's okay.
And Deegan, that was Deegan, right?
Deegan and Tristan, yeah.
He is so tall.
He's getting tall. He's not quite as tall as Ella. He's like a 1/4 inch shorter than Ella. So but he's been sleeping a lot. So I'm like, I think like in the next week or two, he's going to be taller. So
How old is he now?
he is 14.
Okay.
So he needs a permit on his birthday.
Okay. Yeah. There's a spurt there. And then there's another spurt, I think more like 16.
Yeah.
Where they spurt again. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was like, is that Deegan? Like,
I know somebody commented on that picture because they're like, okay, you used to have little kids.
yeah.
I was like, I know.
Well, he might just get as tall as Michael.
Yeah. I'm hoping. I think one of them should. I mean, it'll probably be Deegan, but Tristan, he's almost 18 now, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Drawing he'll have, but he might.
Yeah, he could. Well, okay, so that is not my story. That's not a segue to my story, but I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Meteor Month?
No.
Did you know there was a Meteor Month?
A month full of just meteors?
High likelihood of seeing meteors.
No, I don't follow stars.
Okay. So, you know how the zoo has their concerts every year?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was probably 15 to 20 years ago. We were at a zoo concert, which for for those of you who don't know, they open up the zoo, they have a big concert, they bring in, stars. Usually they're, B-rated kind of singers or whatever. And you sit out on the lawn and the elephants are there and it's just a great night, warm night. And usually I think it's July and August that they do it. Well, it was August and I'm with a good girlfriend and her husband. And she says, we start seeing these meteors like flying through the sky because it's dark. And she's like, oh yeah, it's meteor month. And we're all, what? No such thing as meteor month. Like, you're total full of shit. Like, ah. And she's like, no, really, I heard it's meteor month. So we're like, yeah, whatever. Well, we go home. Sure enough, August is meteor month.
Are you sure it's just not that it's always happening, but in August is when you can see it?
It is always happening. That is correct. But because of the hot August weather where we are located, on the earth, the latitude, longitude, whatever, we see them more because we have very clear skies. It's warm weather. So yes.
Yes. I kind of figured it had to do something with that versus it just happens in August.
No, it does not just happen in August. So it kind of got me thinking because, that was just sort of in the back of my mind. And then my husband's watching this show on, I think it was a National Geographic. It was like a documentary on this meteor that hit in Australia, and it goes on to explain the meteor and the area. It was huge, but then the towns around this and how this really has become their identity. They do artwork, they do everything they sell in these towns is all based about these meteors, and kind of they think they're spiritual and all that stuff. So it kind of got me thinking, I'm like, yeah, what about a meteor? Like, I hear on the news, oh, this meteor is coming towards the earth, or this thing's coming there. And I kind of always think like, well, they'll just tell me when the shit's going to get close, right? Like, when do I have to leave my house? So
maybe
thinking, like, how often do these happen? Where do they hit? Like, whatever. So has anyone ever been hit by a meteor? That was my next question. Like, oh my gosh, do these hit people? What's the deal?
By the time it gets into our atmosphere, how big are they actually?
Yes.
Do they kind of explode? And are they now like, is it more like sand, or is it still like big rocks?
Exactly. And how big does it have to be that this NASA or whoever's watching this stuff is watching it?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Well, apparently they watch a lot of things. They watch space debris, they watch meteors, they watch lots of things. I didn't ever gather what size it had to be, but here's what I learned. First of all, there is really only one case that they know of that a woman has been hit by a meteor. Okay.
How was it?
It was approximately 62 years ago. Anne Hodges is the only confirmed person to be hit by a meteorite. She lived in Sylacauga, Alabama. Never heard of that. It was 1952, and she was napping on her couch when a softball-sized meteor broke through the ceiling, bounced off her radio, and hit her in the thigh. Okay, if you look up the picture, Anne Hodges, has a huge bruise, like, I don't know, it's probably 3 times the size of a softball. The blackest thing you've ever seen on her thigh. Like, holy cow, this must have been a rude awakening. So, are you looking it up?
I am. I'm going to show a picture here.
Yes, you should.
Okay. Anyway, keep going.
Okay. So
a second.
I was wondering, like, okay, wait, she's the only confirmed case. Like, you're going to tell me that all these meteorites mostly don't fall on people? Like, this just seemed a little strange to me. Well, it turns out that meteorites typically fall in the ocean or into the Earth's vast remote places. So I guess as a person who lives in the suburbs, I think of the whole Earth as being pretty populated, but in all actuality, it's pretty unpopulated. Like, there's a lot of just land space. So most of these hit in those areas. There is a Florida State College astronomer, excuse you. and author of Falling Stars, A Guide to Meteors and Meteorites. And he says, yeah, look at that bruise.
Do you see that?
Holy cow, look at that thing. That's some intense bruising right there.
Crazy, huh?
Okay, so a Florida State astronomer and author of Falling Stars, A Guide to Meteors and Meteorites. He says you have a better chance of getting hit by a tornado and a bolt of lightning and hurricane all at the same time.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes me feel better. But going back to Anne's story, the townspeople claimed that they saw a bright reddish light like a Roman candle with a trailing of smoke. Others said they saw a fireball like a gigantic welding arc accompanied by a tremendous explosion and a brown cloud. But this happened in this small town, and so many people flocked to her house when they heard of it that when her husband came home, he had to literally push people off of his porch to get through the door to check on her and to see how she was doing. Of course, there was lots of doctors already inside there, and some folks had already come and said, you know what, this is a meteor. It's fine. It's fine. Well, but the Cold War was going on in that time in the 50s. And people were really paranoid. And many of the locals feared that it was a plane sent by the Soviets. So they actually didn't believe all of this stuff. So there was a lot of hullabaloo. In fact, the police chief took the rock and turned it over to the Air Force and had the Air Force look into it. Well, the Air Force actually confirmed that it was indeed a meteorite. And then the question became, what do we do with this rock now, right? Well, so the public demanded that Anne get the rock because she actually wanted it. She was quoted as saying, I feel like the meteorite is mine. I think God intended it for me. After all, it hit me. Well, but here's the wrinkle to the story. Anne and her husband, Eugene, were only renting. It was not their house. And their landlord, Bertie Guy, felt like it was hers because it hit her house. So actually, Bertie sued Anne and Eugene, and the law was definitely on her side that the meteorite looked like it would go to her. But public opinion and outcry was so strong on this that Guy eventually settled out of court for an exchange of $500 for the meteor.
Well, and they were renting at that time.
Yes.
She might have owned the house, but they owned all the stuff in it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So anyways, Eugene thinks, oh, this is his payday, right? He thinks he's going to be able to sell this meteor for a lot of money. And so he pays her the $500. And the Smithsonian actually came to him and said, hey, we'll offer you this amount of money. They didn't say what it was. It was said to be a modest amount of money. And he turned it down. He was like, no, I can get more. I want more money for this. But offers never really materialized. So in 1956, which was only 2 years later, he donated the meteor to the National History Museum. But this was kind of the end of normalcy for them. Anne, after this, had several nervous breakdowns, and she and Eugene finally split in 1964. And Anne died in 1972 at only the age of 52 of kidney failure in Alabama in a nursing home. And it was said that Anne really didn't like the attention and the limelight that followed her after the meteor. And it really kind of led to her demise and Eugene. And there was probably lots of arguments about money and the meteor and all of that. I'm sure there was a lot of stress, and she just didn't like that. So unfortunately, I feel like it had a really bad impact on them together. But interesting to me that only one person has ever been hit, right? So then in 2016, I found an article written this was in April of this year, An article was published by space.com, and it was written by Chelsea Gold. And she says that researchers from Turkey have actually found evidence in Turkish state archives that a meteorite killed one person and injured another in August of 20. Oh oh my gosh, August 22nd, let's try that again, of 1888. So despite many claims of meteorites hitting people, there's actually very little evidence of this, but were able to find evidence of written story that it turns out that maybe in like 1888, somebody else was hit, but there's just very little actual evidence of it. And so then I was kind of wondering, okay, so what are the odds of being hit by a meteorite really? What are the odds of being hit by a lightning? So then I kind of went down this rabbit hole of like odds, right? So the odds of getting hit by lightning, this is kind of interesting. The National Weather Service says 1 in 1 million. Okay, that makes me feel pretty good. I'm like, oh, 1 in 1 million. CDC says 1 in 500,000. So I'm like, wait, that's a big difference between shouldn't we be pretty clear on those numbers?
That's like a $500,000 in the bank versus $1 million. It's
Yeah.
kind of a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like that's a big difference. So then I started looking more. I'm like, okay, 10% of those people die that were hit by lightning, and 90% of those people have various disabilities. I'm like, okay, wait. So you have a 10% chance of dying from being hit by lightning, but you have 90% that you'll have other disabilities. I'm like, okay, well, that's
Disabilities because of being hit, or you
Uh-huh.
had them before you were hit.
No, you will have a disability of some sort after being hit. So I'm
Okay.
like, okay, well, that's not very good. Okay, so that's, by the way, getting hit any given year. Okay, so then I'm like, okay, well, what are the odds of being hit by lightning in your lifetime? Okay,
Yeah.
stand back. 1 in 15,300. Okay, I'm like, whoa. Like that's getting a little too close for comfort
And
for
where are
me.
the most common places that people are being hit by lightning?
Yes. I mean, we don't have very much lightning, but it
It seems
doesn't
like a
really
golf
say.
course would be a good place to be hit because you're holding like the metal
Yes.
thing and you're out on the field.
Yes. Which reminds me of Sweet Home Alabama. Have you seen that little cute movie with
I have, but I
Reese?
don't remember what part you're referring to.
Well, he goes out and puts these stakes in the beach where he wants lightning to hit because when it hits the sand, it makes glass.
Oh,
And I just always think, what are you doing? Like he's got to be, 1 in 100 now.
right.
His odds are going way up. So then here's another odd for you. Odds you'll be affected by someone struck is 1 in 1,500.
Hmm.
I don't really
Maybe
know what that
know
means.
somebody?
I
Is
know.
that what that means?
Maybe your spouse, your kids. I don't know. I don't know anybody who's been struck by lightning. Do you?
No.
Okay.
Well, and I hear it's terrible because it goes in one area and goes out another.
Yes.
Seen pictures of people.
Yes. Yeah, not good. So
Yeah.
then I started kind of going through that and I was like, okay, well, what are the odds of being killed by a meteorite? A Tulane University environmental sciences professor, Stephen A. Nelson, calculated the odds of getting killed by a meteorite at 1 in quarter of a million. So 250,000. I'm like, wait, but getting struck by lightning in a year was 1 in 500,000 or 1 in a million. We can't decide. So is that a lifetime? I'm not sure. Then other people said it could be much higher at 1 in 1.6 million. I'm
Have
like,
you heard those people who get struck by lightning multiple times?
yes, like 3
What are
times.
the chances of that?
I know.
Is there something about their makeup? Are they the ones that like internally are spontaneous combusting?
Or they just keep going out in lightning
Oh yeah.
storms. I don't know.
Yes,
Are they storm watchers?
or yeah, I don't know.
I
That's
don't know.
crazy.
I mean, I don't go out with an umbrella, during a lightning storm. I kind of respect the storm. So here's some other statistics for you too, because I just kind of went on and found some more. Your odds of being murdered is 1 in 185. So
Oh,
that's quite a bit more significant. Your odds of being in a tornado is 1 in 60,000. I guess this is actually probably killed in a tornado, rather. So murder, tornado, being killed in a flood, 1 in 27,000. Being killed in a plane crash is 1 in 30,000. So a flood and a plane crash are pretty equal. But guess what your odds of winning the Powerball lottery are?
I don't know.
They are 1 in 195 million. So that's actually higher than anything we've discussed here.
God dang it.
It's twice as high to win the Powerball lottery than the National Weather Service says the odds of getting hit by lightning.
So somebody does.
I know.
Somebody
The
wins.
problem is that I'm never going to win the lottery if I don't play it.
I know.
That's my problem.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay,
Uh,
so I have one more little tidbit to add because I kind of went into UFOs then.
Okay.
This is just this rabbit hole you get in.
This is that story we talked about with oh gosh, the Hale Bop.
Yes.
What was that episode called?
You have cute names for them.
Oh no, that one was actually what it was called. I'll look it up while you're talking. Go ahead.
There you are. You froze on me.
Oh, sorry. I gotta put Colt. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, Heaven's Gate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They were following that meteor.
Yes.
Actually, they were going on the UFO behind that meteor.
Okay, so here's the other thing. So then I went down this whole UFO thing.
Yeah.
Because of meteors, right? People mistakenly think that they're UFOs. So livescience.com says the 7 most frequent things that are mistaken for UFOs. Number 7, lightning.
Mm.
Number 6, missile tests.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, weird cloud transformations. Number 4, balloons. Number 3, Venus, the star.
Mm-hmm.
People think that's a UFO. I didn't get that one.
It must be really pretty bright.
Well, it is. And apparently it can look like it's moving, but it's not really moving because it's coming from different parts. I don't know. I was reading about it and I was like, that was
It's
over my
probably
head.
reflecting different lights and stuff, I'm guessing. And then so it looks like it appears that it's moving or changing.
Yeah, something like that. I'd have to look that back up to really be educated on that one. Number 2 was airplanes, which I thought was interesting. And then number 1, most frequent thing that are mistaken for UFOs is military experiments.
How do we know?
I don't know.
I mean, do you think there has to be, right?
You mean aliens?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you talk to my son, he believes in aliens more than he believes in spirit guides. So.
Does he believe they're here on Earth with us?
No, he does not necessarily believe that. He believes they're on some inhabitable planet, inhabitable for
It's
them.
hard to believe that there wouldn't be something.
Yes. Now the question he always says is, could we ever get there? Can we ever travel that fast to be able to get there? But what are the aliens? I mean, it could be microscopic living things, right?
Like Horton Hears a Who.
Yes, exactly. Or little insects, right? Doesn't mean that they're living humans either.
Right. And they don't have to necessarily, I mean, there could be lots of different.
Right. They could have fish and they could have birds on some.
But like there could be one planet that has that. There could be another
Yes.
planet that has something else. Like, I mean,
Yes.
I don't know. Like, I think I've talked about this movie before, but Another Earth.
I think you have. Yes.
That was a pretty slow kind of, but it was good. But it was about another Earth, and we have basically like us on this other Earth,
Right.
that are kind of living the same life.
Was that you that was telling me that they send people off knowing that they will never see them again in their lifetime because it takes a whole lifetime to get to the other place?
No, I didn't say that, but
Okay.
somebody must have. I
Okay.
don't know. I mean,
That
does
might have been a,
because like just say you're gone for 8 days because now you're in this other, you're not in the Earth atmosphere. Does it actually change? Are you really there for years and years, or does it seem like to them it's only been 8 days, but to us it's been years?
correct. I think that was what somebody was telling me a story about, and I don't remember. I shouldn't even say it, but it was something like they sent him off in a ship knowing that his travel was going to take 70 years our time, I think. So by the time he got there, it was going to be 70 years later on Earth.
But
So it
he would
was like,
not be 70 years older.
I don't think so. I don't think he was going to be 70
Is
years
it like a
older.
dream that like it seems like it's only been a
I
few
don't.
been,
This is where my head just
yeah.
goes whoosh.
Yeah, me too. I don't like,
Yeah.
I can't understand that kind of stuff
Yeah.
either.
And sci-fi movies, not my gig. Although I am into Mandalorian. Are you watching that?
No, I don't.
Oh, do you guys have Disney Plus?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I think it's funny that you have Disney Plus and all your kids are grown.
Oh my gosh. This is the funny part. Okay. So my daughter goes off to college and she wants Disney Plus. I'm like, really? Why do we need Disney Plus? My husband buys Disney Plus for her and for himself.
What's on there?
Okay. Mandalorian. Okay, she does watch an innately large amount of Disney movies. She loves rewatching Disney movies. I think she watches a Disney movie every week. I don't know. The only thing I've watched is Mandalorian, and then I've watched Pick of the Litter, which is about rescue dogs. Not rescue dogs, excuse me. Dog training dogs for like the blind or for the disabled or disability. I don't. How do you say that?
Like a disability?
I don't think that's PC to say anymore.
Oh.
Not disabled. I
Special needs?
don't think that's even PC to say anymore, is it?
I don't know.
It'd probably be hearing or especially sight impaired, right? That's much more PC, sight impaired. But it's Pick of the Litter. It is so cute. They have the cutest puppies and families get them and they train them. And then they go every once in a while to the training facility and see how they're doing and get tested. And you're just like all enamored by these puppies. And who doesn't love a puppy? And then you want your puppy to win. And like very few of them actually succeed. I think out of, I want to say there were 6 puppies and like maybe 1 makes it, maybe 2. That's it.
Mm.
Yeah. So
It
that's
took me
good
like
on
3
Disney.
weeks to teach my dog that one trick. You finally can do it.
What
took
trick
forever.
is it?
So we follow this bunny on TikTok, and it's this dog who basically can talk to his owner using these buttons. She's taught him these buttons, and I'll send you a couple videos because it's really crazy. So we're like, okay, let's try one button. So I bought a 3-pack on Amazon, and we're starting with treat. So when she
Okay.
wants the treat, she just has to go over and push the button. And for a while, we'd have to like touch her hand and then touch the button, and then she touch it, and then we'll give her a treat really quick, to the point where I got her to push the button, then I'd go to the cabinet to get the treat out because I wasn't just holding it in my hand. Then it got to the point where I would go across the room, she would push the button, then I'd go to the cabinet, take it out and push the button. And now we'll be all in the living room and she'll be like treat, and if we're taking too long, she's like treat, 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 treat. And then eventually we have to put the button away because she wants them all the time. But
Yes.
so I'll take like one treat and I'll cut it into like 8, I'll break it into like 8 different ones, so she's actually getting 8 treats, but it's just really one
Yes.
because she's already overweight. So now she thinks she's getting a lot, but then I make her walk to me to get the treat, so that like she has to work for a little bit. But and then eventually we just have to put the button away for a while, and then we were joking that she's gonna open up that cabinet,
Yeah.
push the button,
Get the
inside.
button out.
Yeah. But so it did take like 3 weeks, but she got one button down. Where this bunny dog, she can talk. She talks. It's really insane. It's really crazy.
Okay.
I'll
When
send
you
you some videos.
is her name Bunny?
Yeah, the dog's name is Bunny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she must be like she almost looks like a poodle, but then she could be like a labradoodle or something along. I think she's probably
Okay.
like a labradoodle.
Okay.
But she definitely looks like some sort of poodle mix.
Okay, speaking of which, do you watch the dog show after the parade on Thanksgiving?
No.
Oh my gosh.
But I am watching The Undoing with Nicole Kidman. And tonight they're showing the last episode of the series, the season.
Is it good?
It's really good. And in
Oh,
fact, Travis Scott text or I don't know what does he do, Twitter or whatever it was. He's like, "Am I the only one waiting?" He's like, "No, I can't be the only one waiting for this last episode." And then Nicole Kidman texted or wrote back like, I don't know what these terms are, but she replied, "Who do you think did it?" And then he's like, "It's either you or this." And I'm like, "Well, that's so obvious." Like we're going through all the characters of like who it could actually be. And I think there's only like 6 episodes. It's really good, but
okay,
that's
so
what we
don't
got.
ruin it for me, but what's the premise? Somebody killed somebody?
Yes. So oh gosh, what's his name? The guy he used to date. He got Hugh Grant
Oh,
is the husband. Nicole Kidman's the wife. They have a child together. And in the show, he has an affair, which produces this child. And then the child's mother is found murdered.
oh,
So who
okay.
is it? No,
Oh.
I
This
don't
is
know.
what
I
happens when
can't
we
even
don't
let you know because I don't know.
this is what happens when we don't prepare to talk about it. You're like, okay, what's the name? What's the name? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
right. I was trying to think of that whole scandal with him. With
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
but I wanted to go back just before we get off. I was going to tell you that you know how you were saying there's that moment of like pause.
Yes.
And I might have mentioned this in the past, but the one time when my sister and I were going to go visit my dad,
Yeah.
and this is the one time that the two of us were going to go together to see him, because not only do you have to fly as close as you can get, but then you have to rent a car and then drive, at least an hour and a half to get to him.
Because he was in El Paso.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no. So I believe we flew to El Paso. We're
Okay.
gonna rent a car. Is that how it is? Maybe we're going to Arizona. I can't even remember which one, because
Okay.
either way, you go to Arizona, you have to drive 3 hours, or you go to El Paso, it's an hour and a half. And
Okay.
but depending on when the flight is, you're going to get there at the same time. Like I can't even remember which one we were going. But when we landed, I had a voicemail that my dad was being airlifted out of the facility he was to somewhere else, and that we needed to get to this other place. I think we were in Arizona. I can't remember. Anyway, um, but when we got off the plane, I'm texting my husband, "Hey, I need a rental car. Like I need," or because we were going to, oh yeah, this is it. We were going to get on a little plane and go to his town, which
That's
is
right.
like a 6-person plane to get to his town. We
Yes.
were both like kind of freaking out. We really didn't want to get on that anyway. So when we got off the plane and I got the voicemail that he was being airlifted, I knew that I needed a rental car. So I'm texting Michael, "Get us a rental car. We're headed down." And so as we were going down the escalator, the only thing it says is the chapel is on level 2. And I sat there because I'm in front of my sister, and I sat there for a second, and I turned to my sister and I said, "That wasn't good." Like I knew at that moment, like that it wasn't going to be very good. And that's the only thing
Whoa.
we heard over the intercom. There could have been other things, but that's the only thing I heard. And we got down there, got the rental car, and like he died within like 3 or 4 days of
Did
that.
she
But
hear that?
oh yeah, we looked right at each other, like we knew, like this is it. Like, all right, our trip just changed. And what are the chances of that happening, right?
Yeah.
My sister and I are going to visit, and my dad happens to pass away while we're there. The only time that we would ever be together to go visit him at the same time.
Well, haven't you heard stories of people saying like, "Oh, they waited until so and so showed up and then they passed away or whatever."
Right.
Like,
We were talking to him on the phone earlier that day. Like it was like, I don't know. I think like whether it's like, like God
yeah,
intervention,
yeah,
he's like, okay, this is going to happen. I'm going to orchestrate this. So it's all going to happen at the same time he
yeah.
did. And, so I think it just worked out that way.
But
Like,
he knew you were coming, so he
oh,
could
he
have
was
been
excited about
waiting.
this coming. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then, I had to make the decision to like take them off the life support. And I was like, it's up to you. Are you going
Yeah.
to do this? Like your body's got to do this, and
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. But there was that moment of like, it was like slow motion for a second.
Oh my
And then
God.
it just, yeah,
The chapel is on level 2.
yeah. I was like, oopsie.
So you didn't go to the chapel, did you?
No, but I knew like they're telling us like
Yeah.
it's not. Oh my God, Melissa.
What?
For like the last 9 days, there has been weird stuff happening in our house.
No.
Yes.
Why have you not led with this?
Oh my God.
Are you
So
kidding me?
no, so it's been a week ago Saturday. We were gone. I think Ella and I were out front. Lucy was in the kitchen. And when the boys go and get wood in the back of the house, they have these big bins and they carry them up the stairs and they thunk them down onto the deck. And it makes this huge noise.
Yeah.
And Lucy comes running outside and she's like, oh my God, is somebody in the back? Where is everybody? Like, and you know, the boys were gone and we're like, what? And she's like, I swear to God, the boys brought up some wood onto the deck. There's this loud thunk. And I was like, nope, nobody's here. And I didn't really think anything of it. And then I was in the house by myself. And it sounds like, and I'm all by myself. I don't know where everybody is. Maybe Michael took them. I don't know. I'm in the house and something falls. Like I hear a big thunk and I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. I'm like, I go in the different rooms and I'm like trying to think. And then the door slams. Okay. When the thing fell, even my dog looked up and was like looking around. So I was like, okay, that's weird. Then the door slams.
Which
And
door?
then-
The door where you just came out of, or what door?
I don't know where it was because I didn't want to say it was upstairs, but I didn't want to say that because all the kids' rooms are upstairs. Right? I didn't want to like.
So you were downstairs.
I was in the living room upstairs.
Okay. So you were okay.
Something falls, and I'm like, okay, well maybe because we just took all the Christmas stuff down. Maybe one of the boxes in the attic fell.
Right.
Will you go up there? There's nothing like everything's where I left it. Okay, so that's kind of weird. Then I go in all the bedrooms. I'm like, did a snowboard fall over? Like what?
Yeah.
It would have been something significant because it slammed. And then I was like, I don't know what is going on. Like, okay, so that's kind of crazy. This is the second thing we've heard. And then not even like, I don't know, within the 5 minutes, a door slams. And I'm like, something's happening. I don't know what it is. Something's happening. And then we were all in the house. And now this one, I could probably figure out what it was. But Daisy was in this room. And I'm thinking the light was off and she tried to leave and probably went to hit the door and it slammed it shut. Because I'm guessing that's what had happened because we were all upstairs and the door, it was like somebody was really, really angry and slams the door. Now that could have been my dog on the inside trying to get out and then accidentally slams the door shut. But it was like, it was really loud. So I come running downstairs. Of course, Michael's like, doesn't leave the table. He's like, that's weird. I'm not going down there.
That's so my husband.
Kristen, and I open up the playroom door and Daisy comes out. And I'm like, well, she could have slammed it. She would have had to like hit it pretty hard to slam it as hard. It was loud. Like we were like, and then yesterday, you know, like we have one of those garbage cans in the bathroom that you step on the little thing and the lid pops.
Yeah.
Well, Lucy was like brushing her teeth and she looks over and she goes, and the lid was coming down. And I'm like, well, it could have been stuck up and then it just came unhinged and it's coming down. Like it could have been up for a while. I don't know.
This is so what people say, right?
She comes running up the stairs, freaking out, toothbrush still in her mouth. And she's like, I'm not going down there. Like the rest of the night, she wouldn't come down because the lid. And I was like, well, I'm like, did you see it go up? Because that's one thing. But it could have been like right now it's still stuck up. Now, like
right.
Maybe an air fluctuation.
Okay, so have you gotten anything new, like any antiques in the house or?
No, but in November is when Larry died.
In the house?
I have his stuff in our house. We've had it in our house. But he died. This would be like his 2nd year anniversary of his death. And then I was texting another friend of mine and we talked on the last episode, I talked about Janie.
Yes.
And I reached out to a friend of hers and she's like, I really feel a lot of her this month. And I'm like, well, maybe it's her. Like if she's feeling her, maybe she's just stronger now. And then, but we have like quite a few dead people stuff in our house, like
But nothing different.
nothing
Nothing's
new.
changed. So
No.
I actually thought when you first were saying this, that because you did the show about Janie, that maybe it was her. But I think she would be making her presence known in some way that you knew it was her, like not just random doors shutting or whatever. It would be like something related to what you and she share. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
totally. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
although two of the light bulbs in my nail light are out, maybe that would be her. But I don't know. I just thought those were kind of weird things that, like, I don't normally, like, I'll see like the flashes out of the side of your eye, or
Right.
things like that. But I think I way overthink all of that stuff. Like
Yeah.
I research, I'm like, it could be something else instead of just saying,
Yes.
but I do have to say that those were weird things that had happened,
Yeah.
for
And
sure.
for you to say it's weird, it's pretty weird
Well,
because
when I heard something drop and then the door shut, I was the only
yes.
one home. So I'm like, and then with my dog, like, "Oh," I'm like, okay, I'm not listening. I'm like, and I have really bad hearing.
Oh,
So it was loud enough that I could hear that. Like, and I mean, this could just be we have like a fax machine copier. This thing is huge. It's like a TV that has the big thing on the back,
oh yeah.
like really old, like that. I'm like, I don't even know why we have this, because the one time might need to fax something once every 2 years. Anyway,
Which you can, by the way, get like a $10 app to do that for you.
totally. But there is, um, it's been acting up. Like, and it could just be that it's old, but
Right.
like one night we were sleeping and I look up and it's like a light show in the house. The whole thing is like bing, 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 bing. And there's like lights flying out all over. And this was last weekend. And I'm like, Michael, what's going on? He's like, I don't even know what's going on with that thing. And it was like right around this weird time, right? God,
Wow.
what did I say? I think I might have was like, hey, I might have done that. I might have said, hey, I haven't heard from you for a while. Maybe you could show yourself. That night is when the thing starts going crazy. Um, and then just last night it was doing other weird things again. Like, and it was fine for like a week. I printed things, no big deal. And now it's last night. He finally just had unplugged it because it's
Yeah.
doing like this crazy thing. I don't know. It could just be,
So you asked prior to any of this stuff going on, you asked for
yeah,
her
I
to
forgot about that. I did. I sat there and I said that I was talking to my dad and I said, I haven't seen you. I haven't heard you for a while. And I'm like, of all my people, my world, I know that my dad was into that kind of stuff. Like, we're like, you could just show up and like, let me know that you're around. But then part of me is like, well, my dad wouldn't throw something on the ground. He would slam the door. But I mean, maybe he did. Like, I don't know.
Okay, but didn't we also hear from somebody that they have different energy levels and so that he may just be starting out? He doesn't really know how to do much more than that.
Yeah.
So he's learning, or that's all that he has the ability to do.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it
I don't
could,
know. Is it him or is it somebody else? I mean,
I don't know, but the fact that you asked for him to show you and then all this stuff comes on and you're all shocked about it and you're just remembering that you asked.
yeah, I forgot about that. Well, then I was thinking, oh, that's kind of weird coincidence that the machine was doing that, right?
Yeah,
Because then, okay, then you ask for these things, then these things happen, and then you're like, oh, I'm sure it was just like the broom wasn't up against the wall very securely, or then you
right.
start to like doubt what you actually heard or saw, or
I do the same thing. I
yeah.
do the same thing. Yeah, I
Well,
totally understand what you're saying. You
so
you find
further,
the logical reason instead of accepting the fact that wait, I just asked for this.
well, I do, but I also want to like, I want it, I want to debunk it if I
Yes.
can.
Yes.
And so I can say that was really him.